Almost every man is tested by the same thing, his relationship with insecurity, because nobody tells him that test never really ends. Not when he gets the job, not when he gets the girl, not when he buys the house, not even when he becomes the version of himself he swore would finally feel safe. And that's the part that nobody prepares him for, because he keeps moving forward believing that relief is waiting somewhere ahead. But when he finally gets there, the silence is all that's waiting for him. He thought applause would secure him. He thought the ring would get his life right. He thought the money would clear up the ache. He thought respect would finally make the dreams go away. And sometimes he gets all of it. Everything he said he needed. Everything he was chasing. Everything he sacrificed. Sleep, softness, and years for. And still, when that room goes quiet, something inside him whispers like a monster. Is this enough? Am I enough? That whisper, it hits him like a truck, because that emptiness, the hollowness after the achievement, the realization that even if you do everything right, that nobody's coming to tell you you can rest. No one tells him that. No one tells you that. No one tells you that you're safe now at the end. No one tells you that you don't have to prove yourself anymore at the end, because he thought that safety was earned, that worth was earned, that love was earned. So guess what he did? He kept earning and earning and earning. He wakes up early. He works longer than everybody else. He lives heavier than everybody else. He talks less. But guess where he always pushes? Harder. Harder. Because somewhere along the way, he learned that stopping felt dangerous. That stopping, that rest itself was dangerous. That stillness itself was exposure. And insecurity does not retire when success comes. I promise you. It simply changes shape. It becomes fear of losing what you build. That's what it becomes. It becomes fear of being replaced. It becomes fear of being exposed. Fear that someone will finally discover that you were never as solid as you pretended to be. And that fear is devastating, because it means that the house he built the house he built to feel secure was always sitting on sand. No one ever told him that, though. No one ever told him that performance couldn't hold a soul together forever. So instead of outside tired, he's inside tired. He's tired of pretending that the weight doesn't exist. Tired of scanning every room for comparison. Tired of wondering that if love would remain, if status was gone. I'm just trying to tell you what it's like. Tired of feeling like even at his best, he's one mistake away from becoming invisible again. It's just hard. But this is where the conversation actually turns. Because while he's fighting that fear quietly inside his chest, the world is watching him carefully. Women are afraid of an insecure man. They are. They absolutely are. Guess who else is afraid? Men. Men are afraid of an insecure man. Not because insecurity itself is monstrous, but because everyone has seen what happens when pain turns into desperation. The boyfriend who couldn't accept goodbye, the friend who snapped on you, the man who mistook humiliation for injustice. I'm just telling you about how many examples. Fear grows around the possibility, and suddenly the man who was hurting becomes something unbearable. He is not only alone with this fear, he's feared for having it. So imagine having to survive in a world where people stand at a distance, making sure that you don't bleed on them. So guess what he does? He hides deeper. He laughs louder. He postures harder. He controls more. Because admitting fear starts to feel like a confessing guilt. Starts to feel like he's confessing guilt. And women are not wrong for wanting safety. Stop talking like that. Fear is not irrational, but neither is the grief of realizing that the place that you hope might understand your pain is usually bracing against you. Bracing itself for you. I'm just telling you what it is. That tension breaks something inside of a lot of men, because even now, tenderness feels dangerous. Even longing feels suspicious, and asking for reassurance feels like weakness could cost him everything. So he tries perfection. He tries to think thoughts like this: if I never fail, if I provide enough, if I never look uncertain, then maybe I'll finally feel safe to love. But perfection does not secure him, because insecurity was never about failure. It was about belonging, and belonging cannot be earned through exhaustion. It can't. It cannot. That is the horror. That is the horror right there. The grief that many men were never allowed to say that out loud, never allowed to say these words out loud. I am scared that I will never feel secure. Hold on. I am scared winning won't fix it. I am scared there's no finish line. That's what a lot of people have to sit with, because it's deeply human. Millions of men carry that daily, looking completely fine. Because the horror is not insecurity itself. The horror is that we taught men to fight it alone. That is the horror of it. To armor up instead of reaching out. To dominate instead of confess. To achieve instead of grieve. And insecurity was never the enemy. It was the belief that you must defeat it to deserve love. That was the lie. You were never supposed to secure yourself so completely that nothing could ever touch you. That was never supposed to be a thing. You were supposed to be human. But maybe the most radical thing that a man can do is not eliminate insecurity, but to actually sit with it. Let your insecurity speak. Let it soften you instead of hurting you. I want you to understand you can finally say, I am hurting, I am jealous, I am afraid, and you can just stay. But I don't want you to misunderstand. Becoming an honest man does not make life easier. It sure don't. People will still leave. Plans will still fail. He will still misunderstand people. He will still be misunderstood. I want you to get that through your head. Honesty does not stop grief from arriving. It does not protect you from disappointment. Life does not suddenly go right, but it does go honestly. It goes honestly. You'll no longer wake up rehearsing strength. You'll no longer negotiate love through performance. You'll no longer abandon yourself just to be accepted for a version of yourself that never existed. Things may still fall apart, but guess what? Guess how they'll fall apart? Honestly. Without any lies, without pretending, without carrying shame alone. That's something that men have been reaching toward for centuries. For centuries. I just want you to get how serious this is. It's not about domination. That is not what masculinity is about. It's not about applause or control. It's just about the ability to stand inside of your own life without any armor. To look out into your own soul and see no enemies, even the ones that you failed to save yourself from. Right. That's what it's really about. To love without bargaining for your own dignity. Right. To fail without disappearing from yourself. To finally rest without earning somebody else's permission. How long you been fighting for somebody else's permission? I just want you to understand. The deepest hunger of a human is not to become unbreakable. It's to stop pretending that you never broke at all.